he kept saying the same things that he said for years. We're not making excuses. Well, while not making excuses, he's talking about, well, we had a bad series. We played our worst at the bad time. No, that's not it. No matter how many times he was asked about it by Joel Sherman and the other reporters around him about the team's lack of fundamentals and not building a solid team, he had an excuse for everything. He denied the fact that the Yankees, well, we're still a great team, blah, 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 ignoring that they were bad from really June on, and maybe fortunate he didn't even want to acknowledge the path to get to the World Series. It was the same to me that we saw following 2022, where he was saying we made it to the ALCS, and obviously you saw what happened after that. And this year you get we made it to the World Series. What more do you want?
Okay, I think there's a couple of ways to look at this. I choose to look at it this way for now. Not that it can't change, because I got to see what actually happens, but he's a proud man, and he has been in charge of the Yankees for a long, long time. He's got a Hall of Fame resume, and he gets beat up a lot. And some of the things that he gets beat up for, including for me, I believe that he's earned, because he's been below standard with certain things in terms of how the game's changed and maybe a little bit too reliant on some antiquated ways. But to me, Sal, it's less about what he says and it's more about what he does. And I'll give you a great example, but I have to ask you a question first.
Yeah,
and there's two answers. I hope you give me the right one. I think you will. Which Yankee over the last couple of years has driven me the most nuts?
Yeah, Gleyber Torres.
Okay, he's gone.
All right.
So think about that.
I agree that's... Well, we had
so think about that. Like the first action that the Yankees made was to make sure that they don't bring him back.
Right. Understood. And he was one of three guys that I had an issue with. And, okay, you're saying the actions speak louder than words in this particular case. Gleyber was maybe culprit number one, whatever, enemy number one as far as this stuff goes, and he is no longer here. At least it doesn't seem like he's going to be back. And even if you listen to Cashman yesterday, he all but said it. And we all know that that's the case. Okay, good. He gets a check for that. But he also kept Gleyber when we were saying it for years that Gleyber's a problem. He wrote it out, and now he lets Gleyber walk. Okay, fine. But what are the other moves that he's going to make to fix this? I don't think Cashman thinks he has that big of a problem.
He has to, man. Again, the way he phrases it is a little disconcerting. I think if you allow it to be, when he says, listen, we basically, and I paraphrase, but the gist of the message was, we basically showed up with our worst game at the worst possible time. Yeah. That's a cop-out. But again, that's where I say, and that's why I say, he's a proud person, and he's trying to deflect. It's a little self-preservation, which I get. Is he going to? And by the way, I don't know that he should fully have to, grovel and apologize for getting to the World Series.
Oh, understood. But now so then that's what he's going to do. Take some bows for that. See, and by the way, years past, Cashman's always good with the excuses, whether it's we got cheated, whether it's we too many injuries, and now it's we just played our worst in the worst time. No, it wasn't just the fifth inning that cost you. It was the entire series. By the way, he's defending Boone's decisions, which I didn't have a big problem with Boone's decision, but can you hold somebody accountable for? It can't just be, well, we got there, we lost, bad luck. What do you want to say? We still have one of the best teams in baseball. You didn't. The Yankees weren't on the level of the National League teams. End of story. You got to the World Series in part because you were lucky that things broke for you. You weren't a good team from June on. You had health with Judge. You can't get more production from Judge and Soto than you got this year. Moving forward, assuming that Soto does come back, and I'm not assuming that, but let's in this conversation, for the sake of this conversation, assume he does. You're not getting that same. You think those guys are going to stay healthy and produce to that level for the next 5? There's no way. Maybe you get it once over the next 3 to 5 years. You're not getting that level. So what are the excuses? You had your whole team healthy. The pitching was there. Garrett Cole was there. You had the rotation. You had the bullpen you wanted. You got beat badly. You didn't get swept because of Dave Roberts' ineptitude.
All right, so a lot of some of the other comments from Boone were I was up all night like everybody else. From Cashman about Boone, it really seems like he just gives him a complete pass, right? Says he's basically a great manager and that, he gives him a pass for some of the mistakes in the World Series. At least things that I and many others deem mistakes, right? I was critical of Aaron Boone's performance in the World Series. I don't think it was good enough, and I'm on the record. While I like the man a lot, and I think he's done a good job with the Yankees, I would have moved on. They chose not to. Okay, so here we are. What would if he took the opposite approach and said, man, he got played. I mean, he was awful in the dugout.
He's not going to say that.
Okay, so whatever. I know, I'm just saying that for just to prove a point. But so it's either don't bring him back or endorse him.
No, I wanted Boone back, so I'm okay with that. I'm just saying that every step of the way, it's excuse. It's never, you know what? We got to be better. We have to find even the base running he's defending, talking about he's got some base running guru coach. Oh, this guy's getting offered 3 different jobs. Like, we're not bad base running. Yeah. It was actually confounding to sit there and listen to him talk about this stuff and watching the other reporters' faces around him like, what? What are you, like, you're not acknowledging that you weren't very good. Even, how about this, BT?
Yep.
Pin some of it on Gleyber. You know, if Gleyber makes that play in game 2, whatever, game 1.
Game 1.
Yeah, if Gleyber makes that play in game 1, everything's different, and maybe we're not in that spot. Okay, well, at least say that. Like, it was like, no, we didn't play our best baseball. No, dude, you didn't play your best baseball from June on.
Well, again, I want to be clear about this. I just want to see what they do. I don't like the criticisms that you're levying toward the Yankees. I mean, I agree.
Right.
And the statistics back that up. Even the most, whatever Yankee apologist, you cannot refute some of the glaring deficiencies of this team. Now, this bothers me, all right? And you referenced the base running. He said, quote, "The base running program was considered one of the best in the business." Wow. I mean, that by itself is ridiculous. Despite the results of the majors being awful, backed up by other teams saying that Matt Tellerico, the base running head man, is being interviewed by 3 other teams. So imagine, just look at all of our other sports teams. Imagine, let's say Tom Thibodeau coming out and saying, hey, listen, we shoot the heck out of it. Our shooting coaches and the Knicks are shooting 23% from downtown when the league average is about 37%. Like, it's not commensurate with who they've been. So again, this is a lot of noise. This is a lot of microphones and cameras and GM meetings and this, and everybody's twisted from the way the Yankees just bleep the bed in the World Series. What matters to me is what they do to change the DNA of the team, and I think they're going to. Okay. But until they do, I get why people don't know if they will.
Well, to your point, it already has, and that's only because Gleyber Torres' contract is over. It expired. Like, think about it. You and I had the same exact conversation 1 year ago. The same exact conversation. And who were the guys that we talked about? They can't go back with LeMahieu, Gleyber, and Stanton.
Yep.
Okay, Gleyber is now no longer here. Next is Stanton and LeMahieu. Figure it out, because if I were to ask you, like, who was the worst on the base paths, there are 2 guys to me that come to mind right away.
Well, I mean, Stanton can't run, so I didn't even consider him.
But he's one.
He's one, and Torres is clueless on the bases.
So Gleyber is gone. So I do think a lot of those problems that we talk about with the Yankees, it's not all, though, just Gleyber Torres.
No, I agree with that.
A lot of the problems stem around him. He's been a focal point just because he plays the game with his head up.
He's been here for a while. He was supposed to be a star.
It's the same thing over. Okay, so addition by subtraction, moving on from Gleyber Torres. Now, you're going to have to replace the good from Gleyber, which was the offense, especially toward the end of the season in the postseason from the leadoff spot, but they should be able to figure that out. That shouldn't be the problem.
I think Jazz does that the moment he steps in at second base. 40 steals, 25 bombs, higher average. That problem solved.
Get more of a gamer to replace Gleyber Torres, not necessarily at second base, but maybe at third base, whatever it may be. I mean, look, go out there, get it done. Whoever. But the point is, addition by subtraction with Gleyber. Okay, well, now you also have issues. Are the Yankees going to go into next season with LeMahieu on this roster again? Are they going to go into next season with Giancarlo Stanton and relying on him again on this? Like, it's the same stuff. By the way, the more I think about this, and we've kind of given them a little bit of a pass in regards to Soto, where it's saying, well, they could build better without Soto.
Yeah, I've said that.
Yeah.
I want him, but I've said that too.
And while there is a part of me that believes that, it's also bullcrap. Juan Soto's the best player available, and you're the New York Yankees, and you had him. Get him. And I don't care if it means that you have to get him and then spend more on top of it to fix this team that hasn't been good enough for a long time now, 15 years and counting, that they have not won the World Series. You don't hang a banner, or maybe they do, I don't know, for getting to the World Series. You shouldn't. Not the New York Yankees.
No.
Nobody says how many division or how many league championships they have. Everybody talks about the 27 world championships. The New York Yankees are held to a different standard. Soto should be coming back. And if they lose him, that's a bad thing for this organization. It should be Soto plus if the Yankees want to take that next step.
All right. Now, so to me, if this was the old Yankees, Soto is absolutely retained, meaning they do whatever they have to do. And like 09, when they brought in the trio of stars for $250 million in CC, Mark Teixeira, and A.J. Burnett, they also bring in either Christian Walker or Bregman.
Yeah.
That's what the old Yankees would have done.
Maybe Adames at third instead of Bregman.
One of those, for sure. Adames, if he's willing to play third, and we'll get to the Mets coming up a little bit as well. We'll weave them in. BT and Sal on the Fan calls in a minute. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen, But I don't rule it out. And I understand why there are many of you and Yankee fans.
Hey, maybe they figured out with the deferrals or something. But
that's what I'm saying, who are reluctant to begin based on what they've told us about the different barriers, the tax thresholds, and the reluctance to, get hit with dollar for dollar. And I get that because he's not worth $21 billion, which is the latest valuation for Steve Cohen. Each of the Steinbrenners are worth $1.5 billion approximately. So it's a different scoreboard. I want to see what they do. I get it. Yankee fans know where I stand on Cashman. They know where I've stand on Boone now. They know where I stand on Torres, who's gone, and the other pieces. But I'm going to wait and see. Right now, for me, it's kind of like politics, ironically. I don't need words. I need action.
Yeah, well, and the Yankees haven't had enough of that action. They got Soto last year. Now they're on the verge of potentially losing him. Unacceptable. They should be held to a higher standard and no more of this, well, they can build it better. No, you build in addition to Juan Soto. The biggest problem for me is I don't think Brian Cashman gets it. 888-808-1019. BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Hey, Sal, by the way, good luck with that first name.
Peter is in Wanacue. What's up, Peter?
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, Wanacue. What's up, Peter?
Hey, Pete.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm a Met fan, but I want to say something about the Yankees. And I want to point out that they're one of two teams that made it to the World Series. In other words, 28 other teams that did not make it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Yankees, I say, what other team would you trade yourself for? What other team is better than you? They weren't going to beat the Dodgers. They were clearly the best team in baseball. So, yes, it was unfortunate they had a terrible game, but they weren't going to win that World Series anyways. And
yeah, well, Brian Cashman on the line with us here to start the show. You sound exactly like the Yankee general manager, Peter.
Well, I got to stand for him because, again, if you look at the Mets in stark contrast, we had a very successful season. And we got beat by the Dodgers and only made it to the National League Championship. But they gave me
if the Dodgers, Peter, and thank you for the call. If the Dodgers were in the American League, maybe it would have been a different result. I mean, come on, you kids are, we got beat by the Dodgers, so we didn't even make the World Series. Yeah, well, the Dodgers were the best team, which, by the way, the Mets beat them twice. And I'm not even putting much stock in that. The Mets weren't on the Dodgers level. Everybody knows that. It was a miracle that the Mets got where they were, which is why we're saying the Mets need to do more. But we acknowledge that. Brian Cashman is like, we just played a bad series at the wrong time. We could have won. We came within 3 wins. Yeah, technically you're right. You could also say the same thing in 2022. Technically you're right. Yeah, we got to the American League Championship Series. We're 4 wins away from the World Series. But in reality, we all know you weren't even close to the Astros. And guess what? I expect those teams in the American League to get a little bit better this year. Yeah. And what are the Yankees going to do? I mean, are they going to bring Soto back? Because to get better without Juan Soto is hard. Now, you could build a team differently. Hard to imagine them getting significantly better without Juan Soto.
I don't know if it's hard. It might be more painful for the fan because all Yankee fans want Soto back. Listen, I've said a lot. I do think, and I even gave you a lineup without Soto.
Yeah.
I did it yesterday. I gave it to Sal. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter or whatever so you guys can see it. I don't want to run through it again. But I think it's too lazy. So I'm not going to lean on this to say that there's a randomness in baseball. But there is. I think we all kind of know that. Yep. But I'm not hanging my hat on that. I think that the thing about the Yankees is that, and I just referenced 09, we are used to the galaxy of stars. Okay, now the galaxy of stars, that's nice when you've got certain things that are non-negotiable. Defense, IQ, and base running. So what I would tell the Yankee fan, just in case Soto's not retained, be open, really be open to a very different look and possibly a better result. Like, as great as Soto is in the 2-hole in front of Aaron Judge, my God, he's amazing. It's horrible in right field. Right. He's a 0 on the bases. There's other ways to win games.
Here's why I understand the randomness stuff, but here's why I shoot it down. Did Giancarlo Stanton, at least one point, cost them in the World Series?
Yeah, he got nailed at home plate.
Okay.
No question.
Okay, so I'm not ripping Stanton because we know what he did in the postseason. But he did cost them in a key spot getting thrown out at home plate.
And so did Rizzo.
Okay.
I get it. I know where you're going.
Well,
I know.
Right, next was Rizzo. We went into this year. I know I did. I forget exactly what you were talking about.
I was there. I mean, I love Rizzo, but I didn't. I thought he was done.
Right. We talk about LeMahieu and Torres and saying Rizzo was another one that, how could you go into the season
I don't know.
relying on Rizzo? Did he cost them in a big spot in the postseason?
Huge.
And he did nothing, not to mention, it wasn't even a threat offensively. Like, not even a threat. And he cost them in a big spot. So you could say, well, randomness and, those won't happen again. These are things. Gleyber. Did Gleyber cost them in a big spot in the World Series?
Well, listen, you know the answer to all these questions. The answer is absolutely yes.
Should Judge have been in center field?
Like, probably not. I'm not going to run away from it. You're not wrong. But when I say randomness, I mean Aaron Judge. I mean, when Aaron Judge is 90, he'll catch that pop-up.
I know.
I get it. That's what I mean.
But,
like, there's even Mookie Betts with that little, bleeder down the right field. Hey, he's Mookie Betts. He's amazing. He could have easily struck out. Didn't put the ball in play. Put stress on the Yankees defense. But, and then even Cabrera at second diving over the ball.
But it shouldn't have had to.
I'm not saying the Dodgers weren't better. Dodgers were absolutely better. If they play 10 times, they win 6 or 7 of the series, maybe 8. They do. They're better. No doubt. Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do. But I think if they attack this intelligently and not necessarily emotionally, and maybe they're finally getting there, then they will trot out a team that can win those kind of games instead of always losing those kind of games.
Stuart is in Brooklyn. What's up, Stuart?
Stewie.
Sal, good morning, Sal.
How are you, Stuart?
How are you, Sal? I agree with everything, but you know what? You remember what I've been talking about, right? Well, the 3 people that have to leave the Yankees are?
Go ahead, Stuart. Remind me.
Tell me. Moon, Cashman, and Hal.
Well, I mean,
you
0 for 3, Stuart. It's not happening. It's not changing.
Guess what, Sal? Until they wake up and smell the coffee, they ain't going nowhere. And you're right. All the players you mentioned, Sal, that cost them. But they weren't beating the Dodgers because the Dodgers did what they had to do to get over the top.
I just remembered, Stuart, who you were. I totally forgot. So Stuart used to call all the time on the overnight.
Yeah, I remember that. He called a couple of weeks ago. I remember you saying that. He's an overnight guy.
Yeah, I thought it was you, Stuart. And I haven't heard from you in forever. But I was like, wait, from Brooklyn? For some reason, I thought you were from the Bronx. Where the hell you been, Stuart? I've been here for 2 years with BT. You just call us now?
Sal, I've been calling Chris on the overnight.
Okay, well, that's great for Chris, but wait, come on, call BT and I and talk about your Yankees. It's been so long, I forgot how much you hated Cashman and Hal and Boone.
Hey, Sal, I will start calling you, and I'll start reminding you that they have to go. But they're not going to go because they don't get it.
How's the love life, Stuart? How's the love life these days?
Do you guys talk about this at 3 in the morning often? Stewie, how's it going there?
Hey, how's it going? We're still dreaming about Cardi B.
Yeah.
That's his one, Cardi B. Still.
I didn't recognize his voice. I know Stuart, obviously, but for some reason I remember that he was from Brooklyn. And yeah, he would call all the time and we'd have some fun with him on the overnight and talk about the Yankees. The problem is, you said the Yankees, the old Yankees, and I hate to do this because we're way beyond. If George was still here.
Yeah.
But there's a level of accountability that I miss, and I think Yankee fans miss as well. Even if George wasn't going to go nuts and fire everybody, which, by the way, was a detriment many times.
No question.
There would have been, you think George would be saying, well, we got cheated, or, well, you know what, we just picked the worst time to be playing.
No, and Boone wouldn't be back for year 7 or 8 after, Aaron's won a lot of games. He's, you get hired as a Yankee skipper, you're supposed to win a World Series at some point. He's got none.
Doesn't mean that it's right. I mean, Cashman probably wouldn't still be here. Doesn't mean that it's right. One thing is, I do like Cashman. I like his transparency with the media. I just don't.
Me too.
I just don't agree with his thought process, where I think that he's lacking the ability to acknowledge the Yankees' significant flaws for years. I don't know if he's he'll look at it like we're the ones who are foolish. A lot of us that call the Yankees out for not being a buttoned up, well-rounded baseball team playing the game the right way. He thinks we're the fools because the results continue to be there. They win 90-plus games. They're the best team in the American League. They were in the ALCS a couple years ago. They're in the World Series this year. He's like, well, what more do you want? But he's focusing on the results. Maybe that's because of the data and the analytics as far as the results.
Yeah.
Where you should be looking deeper as to why these results are happening and continue to happen the same way.
He can keep focusing on that. I'm going to ignore what he says. I'm going to focus on what he does. That's it.
So far,
it's got to be different. Well, Torres is gone. It's a good start. I'm okay with that.
BT and Sal on the Fan. More your calls on the other side. We will get to the Mets aspect of things coming up in a little bit as well. 888-808-1019. Just getting started on this. What day is it? Wednesday on the Fan.